So over here to the far left is just our relaxed states, So as a coach, when are we relaxed? Like when are the times when we're pretty much just comfortable with our kids and there's not much stress?
Up 16-1.
Okay, so now you immediately jump to like a game environment, but like what about like on your Sunday practices? Is that a stressful environment? It's a stressful environment for
stressed.
you.
I feel stressed, yeah.
Are they stressed?
No.
No, they're not, right? Like that's the difference. Like you might be stressed because you're trying to keep them safe and run a practice, but for the most part, they're not stressed. So let's see, there's three kinds of feedback that we could give kids, and the one that we all love is appreciation, right? So appreciation, of course, is just, you guys know what appreciation is, clapping, all that good stuff. The one that we engage in probably more than anything is coaching, hoping that they don't take it as criticism, right? And then this one here is tricky. What should I use here? We'll use this. This is the one that it gets really, really, really tricky, evaluation. So this one says, you're the man, love what you're doing, I see you working, keep at it, right? This one says, get the ball out in front, stay back, right? All of those things. This one is dangerous because this one creates comparisons, right? So this one is grades on your report card. This one is hitting third or hitting seventh in the batting order. This one is going out the shortstop or going out the left field. This one says, I have to make a decision, and then in my decision, you are implicitly going to be evaluated. And kids know that, and they feel it, and they experience it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to share with you what I feel is my current position, and then we can throw it out there. This isn't anything I read. This is something that I've come to believe, and then we can talk about it. So let's talk about appreciation. So I think that appreciation has this graph to it. I think appreciation, when we're in our relaxed state, they don't necessarily need a ton of appreciation, but it always feels good. Whenever you want to give someone appreciation, they're willing to listen. Notice it's not down here. There's not, this is our quantity. There's not a little amount of appreciation. So this is the way I see appreciation going. I see it growing when you get into a stressed environment. So in your stressed environment, this to me is game day. Okay, now I'm showing you that because on game day, they might have a little bit of doubt. I mean, the very confident ones might not. Like they might roll out of bed thinking they're going 4 for 4 and they don't need a ton of praise. But some, like most players, athletes need reaffirmed on game day, because on game day is judgment day. Is I'm going to be, grandparents are coming as they get older. It's girlfriends, and it's tough. It can be a high stressful situation. The coaching looks like this. Coaching looks like that. All right, coaching goes down, which means when they're relaxed, right now in your practice environment, it's the peak of your coaching. Okay, my practices used to be super intense and super full of just constant coaching, constant feedback, given because in my mind they were relaxed. They weren't going to get judged. They were out here on a Saturday, on a Sunday. It's not like there's a batting average attached to this. They're not going to go home and feel awful, but we're trying to improve for the stress of game day. One of the biggest things, if someone were to say to me, hey, what would you want to be a consistent theme with all these teams? I would say when the game starts, please don't impose your mindset publicly for all to consume. Like, it is their experience, it is their game. Unfortunately, in travel baseball, sometimes we feel like well, we haven't had a chance to coach them, so this is my time. Well, I'm sorry. If you don't have a chance to organize a practice or get together with them during the week, you've lost your time. Right now, I'm not saying that coaching shouldn't be done. It doesn't disappear entirely. You just have to recognize it has to be minimal, right? Because it's just not received well, you know. And they're trying to compete. They're trying to focus. They're trying to win a game. And the last thing that we want to do is we want to occupy their brain with thoughts that might slow them down. Okay, so.
And I'll give you've shared these examples before, and you know we've heard them. Like they try that special pickoff play that doesn't work, and they feel like as a coach you have to validate yourself in front of the parents and the other team perhaps, and say, "We've practiced that 7 times," and you know what I mean. Like that is that what you're talking? You're talking about that spot where you feel like the only reason you're verbalizing that is really for your own benefit, right? Just to make yourself feel good about what just happened. That doesn't help the kids on the field that you're telling them you practiced that, you know, all day last Saturday.
Yeah. So any questions with those two? Those are the ones. I mean, that's when you generally open your mouth. Okay, when you generally open your mouth as a baseball coach, either telling someone they're doing something well, or you know, you're trying to coach them, and sometimes, hopefully, they don't take it as criticism, but you know, they might, especially your son might, you know, but you're trying to give them feedback where they can grow. Okay, and my just general recognition is when you go from a more relaxed to a more stressed, the appreciation should go up, your coaching should go down. Okay? Yep.
I just personally, I'll share. I think the coaching could be higher on your to start during relax. But personally, I have a hard time going down during game day, and that's me.
Yep.
And whether it's coaching my son or coaching another kid, pulling them aside, but not demonstrably. But
Yep.
It's a struggle for me.
Well,
to not
look,
do that.
here's the thing, and this is, you know, I've had people say, "Oh my gosh, like you're like when you I didn't think you competed that hard." Yeah, I compete, right? And anytime where things become time sensitive, like that's pressure. You know, that is the epitome. That's why people choke under pressure, because the time is running out and they don't have any more time to take advantage. You go to the foul line with 1 second left, that's pressure. You know, so, and we feel it too as coaches. Like, you know, so when things get time sensitive, we don't have the luxury of being rational and calm and saying this is the way we should do things. Like, it needs to happen now. Did you understand? It needs to happen now. So yes, it can be something to overcome. You literally just have to talk yourself through it and just say, okay, there's a time, but I need to let them experience this. I need to let them experience this. And you know, if you read enough books, they'll say, you know, your ratio of appreciation to coaching should be 5 to 1. Like, okay, right? But that's in a non-competitive environment. It is in a non-competitive environment. When they're declaring winners and losers, this gets very, very competitive. It gets very time sensitive. The boys want to win. We want to win. The best I could do is say that they were even. That's the best I could do, is say they were even. But I do this splitting is absolutely apparent when in my coaching. I'm a whole lot of clapping, a whole lot of absolutely, I see you working. A little bit less of this, doesn't disappear entirely, but it drops. My practices are much more intense than my games. Now the other piece, this is the way I see this, and you might not know you're doing it. So your practices right now, if you think, you might not have singled any kids out. I mean, you might have declared some pitchers, and they might know who they are. But right now, life is good, and everyone's relaxed, and you know, you're slowly building some of your evaluations. Like, you put certain kids in a certain spot, and players are starting to see maybe, but you haven't written a lineup, and you haven't sent out your starting shortstop and your top arm. But then immediately, right here, it jumps, and this would be, I call it customization. Like, you know, in the school system, we have individualized learning, right? And that's really what should happen. Like every practice should be catered to kids, and they should grow as they need to grow. It's not everyone needs the same thing. Well, up until a certain point, the kids don't realize that. But then there comes a point when you as a coach do realize that, and you know that, well, games are right around the corner, and I need to get my starting pitcher, I need to get my big arms some work, and maybe I need to get my 3, 4, 5 guys more swings. And then right here, it jumps up. It jumps, I don't know how high, it doesn't really matter, but it jumps. I don't think it's higher than that, but yeah, this is how I had it. Something like this. And it spikes right up here, and then it stays here, and right here is where you have your starting lineup revealed. And right here is where you have batting order. And then this is for everyone to see. Everyone gets to see where they rank. Boom, right here it jumps, and then it just climbs. And then they constantly make evaluation every game. Every game you send a lineup out. Every game you send guys to certain positions. And this is the implicit one. Like, this is the one that often goes without saying. And the only reason I'm showing it to you is because right now you're right in here. And you're not really making any judgments, and the kids feel safe. And but I can't tell you how many meetings I've had with parents where I've said to them, baseball is not a democracy, rather it's a meritocracy. Meritocracy. And that's why, right there, at that point. Meritocracy means playing time is determined by your skills, by how much you deserve to play, by your merit. All right, and the line of demarcation is right here when things get customized. And it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, but it's something that all coaches should be aware of. You know, sometimes you might be on the good side of the line, sometimes you might be on the bad side of the line. But when you go to your parents, now, I'm going to say this, you guys have to be true to yourself, which means if you go into a weekend tournament and you tell all your parents, I don't believe in this, I'm going to shuffle batting orders, and no one's going to have a traditional spot. Like, you might be hitting third one day, and the next day you're hitting seventh, the next day you're hitting ninth. You could absolutely have that mindset. I'm not judging you one way or the other. If that's your mindset, then you might not have that judgment or that evaluation. Now, you better make sure your kids are on the same page with you. Kids like to win. Kids like to compete. Generally, kids know where kids fall, which means, on game day, what my mindset was I was going to give our kids the best chance to win on that particular day. Which means if so-and-so is hitting third, fourth, and fifth, and you're hitting ninth, I hopefully I don't have to owe you an apology. Hopefully you understand why we're doing what we're doing. We're a team. We're competing together. I'm not diminishing your role. I'm just saying your role is different than his role. This is the roles that I'm delineating, and then it'll grow. It'll grow throughout the year. But this is a very, very sensitive one, this one right here, because this is the one that goes unsaid. These two things you can control. What do I say? How do I coach it? I can call, but you can't control this. And I'll tell you this, when I was coaching at Redland, this was getting to me so bad. Our high school kids were internalizing this so bad, and they're caused such friction on the team. I brought them into a room and I gave them a piece of paper, and I said, write numbers 1 and 2. Write numbers 1 and 2. They all wrote 1 and 2, and I said, write your 2 best friends in the team. Put your name at the top. Write your 2 best friends in the team. I'm gonna walk around and collect it. What are you gonna do with it? I'm gonna read them out loud. What do you mean? I said, write your 2 best friends. I got really demonstrative. Write your 2 best friends on the team. And then a lot of them were panicking and balking, and you can't make us do this. And my point was, I do this every single day, and you judge me for it. You judge me for it. I write 9 guys on a lineup, and the rest of you judge me for it. And it's unfair to me. That's my job. That's what I have to do. And yet you have no problem sitting there and judging me for my 9 guys. But I'm not allowed to judge you for 2 guys. You can't do that? And then I said, rip them up, throw them away. I don't want to hear it. And then they walked out, and that was the end of it. They understood that, okay, he's got a job to do, he's got to write a lineup. Now, we competed of the mindset that we want to play for something. We want to play for something to win. And if your kids are young maybe you don't go that way, but I will say this, the game isn't gonna change, and I'm of the opinion that the sooner we present that to kids, the better off we can be. I think